Welcome to the Steckline Report. Well, folks, we've got Brazil relenting on restrictions on foreign farmers buying their farmland. We've got a possibility of drones flying over farm ground in the Midwest, checking to see about EPA rule regulation problems. And it looks like Congress is targeting food stamp spending as maybe a place where they could save a little bit of money. We're going to talk about all those items in just a minute. Stay tuned.
I first got started in the cattle business. My wife and my father-in-law got me into it. I love dealing with the animals and being in the outdoors. At American Ag Credit, I know a lot of them are in the same business that I am. Therefore they understand what I need and what problems I'm against, so they can work with you on it, and it makes it much easier.
It's been passed down to me through the generations, and I want to pass it on down to the next generation or two.
Folks, it's kind of interesting. Brazil's relenting on restrictions on foreign farmers, it looks like. I'm not sure they're going to get this done. It's just being talked about pretty heavily by a bunch of the farmers in that part of the country. And why do the farmers want this? I'm not understanding this. But under recommendations of a farm lobby-dominated committee, gone would be the restrictions that limited purchases to between 12 and 25,000 acres in the Mato Grosso. Instead, foreigners would be able to buy just as much as they wanted. And I can't figure out why a farmer would be in favor of that. I know here in this part of the country, farmers get kind of upset when the foreigners come out and buy that land next to them. And so this is just backwards from that. In any event, while the farm lobby has won one small battle to get it into their political system, many think a long war is ahead. And in fact, the ruling Workers' Party's already vowed to block the Ag Committee's version of the text, which we'll just have to wait and see. I just doubt that they'll get that done. It doesn't quite make the sense that those farmers would want that. In the meantime, speaking of what farmers don't want, they don't want drones, or for that matter, any kind of airplane flying over their farmstead, checking for EPA rule regulation problems. And so the folks in Nebraska really got upset about this, and well, they should. This is something that we ought to know about ahead of time and not find out by being buzzed. In any event, the idea of flying drones over Missouri farmland is deeply disturbing, so their congressman, Todd Akin, who's running for U.S. Senate, by the way, wrote a letter to EPA, really ripping them. There's been no EPA drones flying. However, friends, there has been piloted planes over cattle operations in Nebraska. That's right, and Iowa, checking for polluted runoff and potential violations of the Clean Water Act. Now, both states, along with Missouri and Kansas, are part of the EPA region that is headquartered out of Kansas City, Missouri. The Kansas City, Missouri guy says no drones. But yes, he did confirm piloted airplanes flying over the folks in Nebraska and Iowa. Several lawmakers on Capitol Hill don't want that privacy issue broken and want roadblocks on the use of drones for sure. Nebraska congressional delegation wrote the guy at EPA raising privacy questions about a series of aerial surveillance flights over livestock farms there. What kind of answers they're getting is yet to be determined, but drones is really worrying people, and EPA is kind of saying that they will not use those. However, how can you tell, right? I mean, they change from one day to the next what they do. By the way, a final word on the farm bill that will be taken up in the House soon. As soon as this recess is over, they're going to look at food stamp spending, I think, a little harder. They've cut them some, but the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, or SNAP, as food stamps are now called, if they trim back eligibility on them, they say they could save $4 billion over 10 years, and Republicans are really pushing for that. Is the money going to the right people? Is it being expended wisely? About 45 million Americans received food stamps in 2011. Cost $78 billion. In 2007, only 26 million Americans, and at a cost of $30 billion. Was the food stamp program. So it's over doubled in that length of time. I think it's a time to take a good hard look at that program, which is the biggest part of the spending of the Farm Bill and why it shouldn't be called a Farm Bill. Hey, see you on the next Steckline Report. Thanks for joining us.